Dr. Chikane, thank you so much for making the time to join us.
Yeah, sure.
It's been a while,
Yeah, how long has it been?
maybe a year?
No, it's like 2 years at this point.
Yeah, no, it's been.
No, I was in the UK last year. I was on my sabbatical,
Sheesh.
enjoying the country's problems.
Now you're back, the country has
Now you're
enough
back.
problems.
The country's still on fire.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. Chantel, how you doing? Thank you so
Good.
much as well for making the time.
Thank you so much for inviting me here.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to having a conversation.
Right, cool. Before we start, the hoodie is quite striking.
Yeah.
And I can't help
I
but
kept
ask.
looking at it.
Right? I thought since you're the new director of Tyisha Centre, you'd come bearing gifts.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah,
Would've been
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Have you guys heard about like the funding cuts that have been happening? International
Yeah.
development is just not giving people money.
Yeah.
Ish,
It
ish,
trickles down.
ish.
But next time,
Okay.
Yeah.
next time.
Let's work with
What's the relationship there between CTIN and Tyisha?
So CTIN is the Civ Tech Innovation Network.
Yeah.
It's been going on for many years now at this point. They've moved around and they finally kind of found an institutional home within Tyisha.
Okay.
And in a nutshell, the Civ Tech Innovation Network is a conglomeration or a network of organizations across the continent working on what we describe as Civ Tech, which is civil society organizations utilizing technology for XYZ reasons. They do research around who these organizations are,
Okay.
provide different platforms. Right now, have a really nice grant where we're giving out little pots of money to organizations across the
Yeah.
country in particular. But it's a fantastic initiative, initially started by Geshe, now taken on by Zukiswa Gota, who's just like a fantastic individual.
Yeah.
My role is keep them alive and
Yeah.
they go do the magic.
Yeah.
And I like wearing their apparel more often than not. But it's around 300 registered organizations on their database and the largest database of Civ Tech organizations on the continent in the
Yeah.
world. So a lot of leverage there and they do cool stuff.
Yeah.
Chantel, if anything I heard from this man's response is let's start something
Let's start
in civic,
something.
and
Civic.
we can hit them up for some
Yeah,
cash. You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll be.
I shouldn't have said that. There's going to be like a ton of emails.
We
heard you have
definitely.
money, here's
Yes.
my
Yes.
Here's my proposal.
Yes, yes.
Definitely
yes.
knocking down your door.
How has it been at the helm of Tyisha Centre?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Tyisha, we started off from two of us having a coffee, 2019, asking the question like, is there enough research on digital and data governance? Then they were like, you guys should go do the research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we said, we are not equipped to run anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we brought in Geshe, who's on one of your episodes. I'm not sure which episode she'll be on. And she was our fearless leader for about 5 years at this
Yeah.
point. We were loyal soldiers following valiantly into every fight.
Yeah.
And has handed it over to me now, which is very frightening. And I'm asking for peacetime now. Like,
Yeah.
no one must fight with us at this point.
And they're coming.
Hopefully not. And so we reorganized a bit this year.
Yeah.
A lot of our work is around AI and digital governance,
Yeah.
digital sovereignty and geopolitics, digital public infrastructure, digital public finance, and anticipatory governance. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
we've got a few different projects happening. CTIN is also one of our programmatic areas. And we do different projects, developing a new degree program.
Wow.
I don't know if I can talk about this
Can
yet.
we? I was about to ask, can you please dive into
I
that?
was like, yeah, well, I'm applying now.
Yeah.
At the next
Next one.
podcast
Yeah?
discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully all the
Okay.
paperwork is done. We can then announce what we think would be groundbreaking
Okay.
masters and PhD degrees
Yeah.
for the global South, for Africa in particular. And so it's exciting times for us, and we just keep pushing on, I guess.
You recently commissioned a 20-part paper series on AI in Africa.
Yes.
From you as the director, what does the series mean? What questions or answers were you seeking when you commissioned
Yeah.
this 20-part paper series?
So this is the second can I use the word generation? So we had our first working paper series
Yeah.
around 2 years ago
I remember
at
that.
this point.
Mm.
And initially for that working paper series, we were like, we should probably write a book around digital governance on the continent. And the assumption we made, we're so young, story-eyed. Our assumption is we should just put out the call. There's thousands of people, millions of people on this continent. Someone must be able to write on this. There'll be tons of research,
Yeah.
whether in governments, within universities, all that jazz. And we put out the call and we got nothing.
Mm.
And we realized the assumption we made was that people are doing work on these topics at scale within academic context. What we found out is that people are doing small scale projects, very intense projects, or you're working in a think tank that is kind of, and I have nothing against the West in like a deep way out of like old school animosity towards them, or think tanks that are based on the continent but are writing for a Western audience,
Okay.
or governments who are doing really cool work but keep all their work internal. They
Yeah.
don't publicize it a lot unless it's like a new shiny toy.
Yeah.
And we realized, well, we can't write a book because not enough people know about this. So let's do a working paper series where people can then toss out ideas, toss out their arguments, toss out their conceptions. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really cool working paper series. This time around, we've partnered up with the IDRC. And this working paper series expands on that initial concept. So with the second round, dealing with different topics related to not just AI, but just digital transformation, digital rights, digital IDs, not just on the continent, some controversial papers, some people might say controversial, that really illuminate the usage of AI in warfare, for instance, right? All the way down to what is the role of digital IDs in our modern day society. So really thought this working paper series would give the opportunity for senior academics as well as emerging scholars. We're all about getting young academics into the pipeline and opportunities to cover these topics. And we're now launching this working paper series on the 8th of July, if I'm not mistaken. So it's exciting times for us. And hopefully this becomes a third iteration and a fourth iteration, something that is just giving people the opportunity to write the stories around what digital governance and transformation looks like on the continent.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
And
A good selling point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
if I don't know about this series, I'm definitely looking for all 20 papers to read on them. There was, I found somewhere that you were a president of Nkulu Fried.
Wow,
Head.
that's a throwback. Yeah. Yeah. Back in
How did that happen? Firstly, what was this
This
organization?
now feels like a promo on me and my history. Now this is going to become public. I wonder if he's going to get upset.
Hey.
So Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh
Was your
old friend.
deputy?
No. So old friend, he created it. Him
Oh.
and another individual called Eric de Ridder.
Okay.
He had just finished his time on SRC. I guess he needed things to do. And he created this platform, which essentially, how do you give young people an opportunity to speak about politics in the country?
Yeah.
And create it and make them knowledgeable about not just politics, but who are the political parties and who are your options leading into elections. So Nkulu Fried was created out of that. I think he was then pivoting to new things.
Okay.
And he looked at me and said, don't you want to just take this over at this point? So I took over from him and Eric de Ridder and ran with Nkulu Fried for about 2-3 years at this point.
Yeah.
Expanded from the Western Cape to the Eastern Cape and KZN, primarily at universities, kind of doing youth participation, youth politics and education and soap boxes and random places where you put a box and you just tell people, tell us about your views about the country. And we just got the best content out of it.
Nice.
Then. So yeah, that's a throwback. And then I handed it over to the next person after me. So yeah, that was a wild time.
Nice.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
Where do you think we are in terms of the youth participation in politics currently?
I used to use a line. When was I SRC? I was SRC UCT 2012. And I used to use the line and I used to shout it that young people are not apathetic. Stop telling us that we're apathetic.
Okay.
You're just not interesting us in the right way. if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you interest us in the right way, you then activate us at this
Yeah.
point. But you can't now sell this product of democracy to us in a manner that's bland, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, juice it up, make it a little
Yeah, yeah.
sexy for us, make it relevant to our context. And I think that still holds. Where today, when we talk about like a lack of youth participation in politics, I always think to myself, it's like, no, young people are involved in politics. It just doesn't look like formalized politics.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like attending an IDP process.
Yes.
Because young people have clocked on this IDP process doesn't make sense. You
Right.
sit in this room and then we tell our views and then we develop a report that has nothing of our views. in
Our
it.
views, yeah.
Participating, it is so rare if you send public comment to a piece of legislation, because government is like, we don't get enough young people commenting on legislation. And I always ask the question of like, show me where. And I love saying this to civil society. Vent so much. Civil society will be like, show me where your comment in particular that you submitted appears in the legislation.
Oops.
I'll wait at this point. It is so rare to see public commentary reflect
Yeah.
in public
Yeah.
participation. It is so rare to see people's views matter in a substantive manner that someone can feel and see and touch. And if you do that for 30 years, it is not a coincidence that people look at that process and say, I'm not going to participate
Right.
Yeah.
in that because it doesn't make sense. Does it mean I don't care about politics? Well, they get involved in their own communities.
They do.
They get involved in different discussions. People talk about politics without having to be part of a political party. So the question that I have for youth participation is not that there is a lack of it in the sense of low voter turnout. That's obvious.
Yeah.
We get that. But it is our political machinery, the way it was designed in 1994, fit for purpose in 2026? That's not a conversation we want to have.
No.
That's a tougher conversation to have at that point.
Yeah.
Because then people lose their jobs who are sitting pretty, even though they had commissions.
Right.
Yeah.
And the argument about the youth not being angry enough, do you find it fair? Because a lot of people say things are going bad. The youth is not angry enough. If they were, you would see participation that shows that, look, we're not happy with the status quo. But I mean, when you see strikes, I don't think strikes are not demonstrative of anger. If anything, they're like the pinnacle of anger.
I wrote a paper that came out last year around what I describe as like large scale protests in the country. So I don't have the recent data, but about 3-4 years ago, South Africa had a protest every single day. On average, every single day.
Yeah.
Going back almost 10 years. It's not like just 1 year. It was just reported protests. So we know this is an activity that takes place.
Yes.
And the argument that I make is that, no, man, and it's not all young people, but a lot of the protests are young people, is that is democratic participation. It is informal political activity, but it's not political activity, if that makes sense. So I think young people are participating at scale, utilizing protest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because protest is a participation mechanism that gets substantive results. The IDP doesn't, and people know that.
Yeah.
It's slower, it's more cumbersome, but if I do engage in protest, it's a lot quicker. There's pros and cons.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily get what you want.
Yeah.
It's very short term. It's like a flash in the pan, but that's something. So I think young people, in the terms of like, will we riot in the future? I think that's inevitable.
Yeah.
I used to sit on my soapbox being like, this country doesn't make sense. It's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
We just need the right moment and it's all going to burn. And then the July protests happened and I thought, this is the moment.
That's
You
called it.
It's all going down to fire and flames.
And
Yes.
you
The
called
country
it.
kept on going.
Yeah.
I was like, we are the most resilient country I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Because in other countries, moments like that create absolute chaos.
Yeah.
And we see the examples. Sri Lanka gave us that example.
Yeah.
Nepal last year gave us that example. We see Gen Z protests across the world where small events cascade into national government changing events. In Nepal, I'll never forget seeing a young person walking a former minister on the streets within 2 days of the protest starting. At that point, where they voted in a new president using Discord.
Yeah?
Which is a wild wild thing to wrap your head around, where they say,
Using
well, then you guys
Discord.
must choose the leader. You said, okay,
Okay.
give us 2 hours, let's just go
Let's just
stream
go.
this and
Yeah.
Discord and that. And they came back with the recommended leader, who then became the person who had to negotiate the transition of the government. But South Africa, we are just resilient.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool.
Through and through.
Well, let's get into the papers.
Yeah.
So,
You're going to put me on tangents.
I know.
hey man. So the first paper I have up here is Addressing Data Scarcity in the Global South, a review from African Data Policies. A bunch of authors, Beatrice Bonami, University of Edinburgh, Dr. Sedani Mosa, sorry for butchering your name. So the paper is basically about the concept or phenomenon called as Southern data poverty.
Yeah.
I gotta say, man, when I read this, my blood boiled a little bit. It was like, whenever Africa becomes a topic of conversation, things like poverty just pops up.
Yeah, woe is us, isn't it?
It's always gonna be us. It's like we're just the face of it.
Anyhow, so the paradox here is where African countries are central to the worldwide data extraction, yet they face persistent barriers to accessing the very data assets required for sovereign AI development. Some of the arguments from the paper is massive amounts of data are extracted from the African population, from mobile money, health records, social media, profiling via telcos. Another argument is the data is stored offshore, curated by big tech, used to train models for non-African markets. So they make a bunch of arguments in that theme. But let's start with this Southern data poverty. Why the word poverty?
Because it gets people's attention, I guess. I mean,
you're clickbaiting us now. Research.
We need a good title, otherwise we don't read. No, I mean, I must say, I really like this paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you can debate with papers, you can agree, you can disagree. And if you're agreeing and disagreeing, you know it's a good paper.
Right.
If I sit back and I read a paper and be like, oh, that was a pleasant read.
Okay. Doesn't change how you view the world.
But when it provokes a bit of debate in your mind.
Yeah.
So, the first one, and it's not like they make a wide sweeping statement, but the first one is that Africa is not unique.
Yeah.
It's not as if no one is extracting data from South America.
Okay.
It is not as if no one is extracting data from Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Right? We are they're equal opportunity discriminators, these big tech platforms in particular, right? So it is not unique to the African context, but because of our history, there's a particular sensitivity to that type of extraction, right? At the BRICS conference last year, one of the big wins that Africa got was a provision, the one-liner. I haven't seen the benefits of it.
Okay.
Maybe in 5 years' time I'll see it. A one-liner there of increased beneficiation of industries on the continent, which essentially means stop taking the goods away.
Yeah.
Take it off the ground, build whatever you need to build here, and we'll export to you. Which the global north and the west is pushed back against for the longest time. This is the same old argument repackaged talking about data, right? Trying to acknowledge that a similar pattern is happening in which data is being extracted, but there's no mechanisms for beneficiation.
Right.
How do you draw out the benefits of this data for those who generate it for you? There's also very little ethics protocols around this. So this used to happen with health data. It's not new. This concept is not new. It used to happen with health data all the time until in the 1980s. You're going to have to fact check me on this, but there was a convention that came together to essentially say, if you utilize health data or you do experiments is a bad word, but you test out research protocols on the African continent around health interventions, pharmaceutical medicines, etc., then the people you tested on must be the beneficiaries of it. You can't then deny them the medication.
Yeah.
That needed 20 years of fighting to create those ethical protocols. And then it became established, and it's now fact, right? Until COVID-19 threw the playbook out the window. We're having the same debates now.
Yeah.
Just with the guise of data. How do you make sure that those who have data extracted from benefit from it? But then the question then becomes, who is this them?
Mm.
If that makes sense. I like making the argument that every time I use Spotify, every single time I use Spotify, I assist Spotify's algorithm in how it recommends music to other people.
Yes.
I am part of Spotify's work product.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean I can go to Spotify and say I want royalties?
Yeah.
Because I've worked for you.
My data improves your product.
To Kendrick Lamar, and this is how informed your thinking
Yeah.
and how you design this algorithm. You should pay me for that. That would be an insane thing to sell Spotify, though I do want to say it to them. It would be an insane thing of like, you can't individuate this thing.
Yeah.
Right. So then the question then becomes, well, are we now having a conversation that state economies should benefit? Well, then what is the state economy to do? Did they connect the individuals at scale? Or did Google provide the infrastructure to bring the internet or high-speed internet to the continent, which is one of Google's arguments. They do it in like a nice point. Google still want money from you guys in the future, so but they bring connectivity to the continent. These big techs bring connectivity because the continent wasn't developing the connectivity themselves. They weren't creating the public infrastructure for this. So then to turn around and then tell them as well that we're going to double tax you on this thing is a hard sell. So that's the first point that I like making, that it's not everyone who benefits is the question. What does beneficiation look like for data in particular? And I think calling it poverty then makes it seem like there's a lack of agency to do this. Because no one is stopping someone on the continent from creating their own Anthropic. Right. Or their own OpenAI at this point. Like no one is stopping that from happening. What is lacking is the investment at scale. What is lacking is the concentration of skills development, right, at that scale. And what is lacking is political will from the state to do this. I can use China as a really great example of this, right? Joe Biden, I say this like his friend, President Biden. I don't know him personally. President Biden does a ban of microchips from China in the middle of his second term. Right? Second term, first term. Right. So this was 2020. Yeah, it was on 2020, 2021.
2021, somewhere there.
And the argument he was making was we're protecting our microchip industry here and our AI industry here. Right? We don't want China getting involved. China said, please don't do that. Honestly, they came back and said, please don't do that. We need this market. We're coming into this market to learn. And the United States said, no, not doing this. China then said, it's fine. We're going to spend the next 5 years developing our technology with huge state investment and political will, coordination to catch up with the United States and surpass. There's a beautiful argument that came out from the Carnegie Fellowship from an old friend of Matt Sheehan, I believe his name is. We wrote about this, of like how China did not just catch up, but superseded. Supersede, is that the right word? Or went past the United States. Because the political will came to say, we will then do it ourselves, if that makes sense. So political will becomes the one. If you have the political will, then you can go out and find the money. Once you find the money, then you say, how do we redirect the money to the right players? And that's what we lack. So the poverty could be overcome without having to wait for the global north to do something for us. And the last point I'll make is you do not have to have your data in the country. It's a wild concept. I hear this argument.
Say what now?
People debate with me all the time on this. If it is data that the state holds on to, the state should keep that data within its sovereign territory as much as possible. All other data, it's neither here nor there where the data gets stored. Because it doesn't make a substantive difference to it. The question you want to have is if a country switches you off, and this is what the EU is worried about, right? So the EU just made a decision last week to essentially say they're not using Google anymore, right? So they said within the EU, if you work in a government department,
Mhm.
we don't want you to use Google as your search engine. There's a search engine, I forget its name, that was developed in France. If you work in government, you utilize this, because we have now found out that if the United States wanted to get our data,
They
could
could.
compel
could.
US-based companies to get that data. I understand that threat
Mm.
for a government-to-government relation, which is why governments can have the argument of store the data.
Yes.
Big tech will argue against it and be like, please don't, because we're going to
Yeah.
distribute where we hold our data. Private companies, that's a separate type of conversation,
Okay.
right? Because that is data that you willingly give up,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Mm.
Right? This is not data that the state naturally creates on your behalf.
Mm-hmm.
Health records, medical records that the state has to hold on to. And in my mind, to impose the idea that you must then have the infrastructure means that most big companies won't then want to invest in that infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't make sense. Why would I build a data center here if I could just take that data and store it in Ireland at scale at a cheaper cost?
Until Ireland switches that data center off, and
So
you have
Ireland switches that way.
and you have
That
access.
is private data. That is your Instagram
Yeah.
data. That is the data you give to other private companies, which could happen either way. Your insurance company could cut you off if they really wanted to. Right? That is a different type of market vis-a-vis. I can't go to government and government can't look at me and be like, Fred, we're not giving you an ID. There's no, the government can't do
Yeah.
denial of
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
So this debate, I think, is interesting. My default position isn't data must be within our borders.
Yeah.
My argument is which data should be in the borders and which data we find sitting wherever it needs to sit.
And
Yeah.
what data sovereign model will that be for a country? And again, I guess this data sovereignty thing, it's a concept that gets thrown around
Yeah.
quite loosely sometimes. I also at times struggle to understand how to even phrase the argument to say, if the state is claiming to be sovereign in terms of its data, does it mean all the platforms and the servers are here, or big tech servers are owned by the state? What does that relationship look like? What does being sovereign actually look like?
Yeah, so this is another debate. So often we talk about data sovereignty.
Yeah.
People will talk about private sector versus government data.
Right.
The government will then take two paths, what you just described. They'll say, come and you need to build your data centers
here.
You own it.
Yeah.
You run it, but you must build them in the country.
Sure.
Which on the surface is like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because the data, as if data can't cross the border.
Right.
We all know that.
Without,
Like you have to carry a bag.
Right. So then the question becomes, well, then does the state partly own that data set?
Right.
Right. Private company will then say, well, then you must invest
In
to
this
the
data set. Yeah.
at this point. Right. Then maybe the state can then say, okay, well, then we want to have a say over that data. Now, the big tech companies can say, well, then you're having a say over the United States data as well, because we're going to store some of their data. But the jurisdiction of it becomes extremely messy because data, and we often think about this, your individual data is not necessarily in the way we think about like a file with your name on it. That's not how these models are designed and built, right? It's built of patterns of behavior, and your patterns of behavior link up to other people's patterns of behavior. But it is not that Google is sitting there with a file on just you, yourself, and I, saying, Rekgotsofetse Chikane, this is all his data in this one file. It's just not the way these models work and how data is stored and organized. Traditional data, if you did like data warehouses, for instance, it's designed that way. Certain files. But if you do like a data lake, it is just toss everything in there.
Sure.
We don't care about how it's organized, we care about the patterns that we can bring out of it, if that makes sense. I know I'm getting very technical with this, but that type of logic makes the conversation about data sovereignty very, very murky. And it makes it also sound very outdated. Like the conversation made sense 10 years ago. The conversation now is like, that doesn't necessarily make sense. Now there'll be people who push back at it. The other model is government must build the entire data center itself. Right. So we build all the infrastructure. You utilize our infrastructure,
Mm.
whatever you need to do. It's the same logic of we will build the highways.
Yeah.
You must then drive on the highway and do whatever you need to do,
Yeah.
go where you need to go, right? That type of conversation is a more fascinating conversation for me.
Yeah.
Then it excludes the data sovereignty. It's just about what is the digital public infrastructure in which the other actors then utilize.
Right.
And are you developing that? And we are now seeing that debate evolve. So the BRICS conference last year finally started having this conversation about DPI in a manner that India started it, South Africa piggybacked off of it.
Yeah.
But we're now having that conversation that then makes data sovereignty less of a sexy topic because it doesn't make sense in its traditional sense. It's still important for government data, but all data does not have to be stored here. And obviously, you also just don't want to have such big data farms. So much environmental problems and issues.
Absolutely.
All that jazz that comes
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, going back to being suppliers of like Africa's data, right? Suppose we stop being suppliers of our data, and of course, somehow we keep it within, like, regardless of how it goes, right? Suppose we stop being suppliers of Africa's data.
Yeah.
Are we in a position to create our own systems that actually guard Africa's data?
I really want to emphasize there's a lot good happening on the continent. So when I say bad things, I don't want it to seem like the continent.
Yeah.
So we can't create what is intrinsically a simple process, but is politically messy, which is a digital payment system.
Yeah.
Right, in which I can move money from here to Kenya in a manner that makes sense at scale, seamlessly. The rest of the world has kind of figured this out in multiple different ways, right? The African continent hasn't been able to figure out digital payment systems for scale and e-commerce, right? So the protocols for when you use your MasterCard on Takealot, the protocols for that digital public, for that payment gateway, are different in South Africa vis-a-vis the standards in Kenya the last time I checked.
And why is that?
Because of different systems and different banking systems.
Okay.
Right. Different laws around how money is moved, how much money should be sent in one account, how much money. So in South Africa, you can move like 10,000 rand, but there's a limit. You can't just
Makes sense.
Be like, you can withdraw more than that. Live your best life, right? There's just different rules and regulations. And what you need is a harmonization of rules and protocols to say, this is what we do, this is what you do, but this is what we all do together. And we can't do that for payment gateways.
Yeah.
If we can't do it for payment gateways, when it comes to data transfer, then it becomes even more messy. But it just needs the political will to do it. And I know I keep saying political will. Can I give you a good example? I think I mentioned this in the last podcast.
Go ahead.
The Malebo Convention is a great example of this. Malebo Convention, it happens early 2010s, and it's about we want to devise a protocol on the continent for cybersecurity. Super simple. Great convention. When you read the document, you're like, you guys are ahead of your time. You're doing great stuff. Look at the African continent shining. It took 14 years before the Malebo Convention was ratified.
14.
Right, and it only got ratified last year because I think Mauritius finally signed off on it. At that point, they had already developed working paper on digital government. They developed Agenda 2063. They had done so many
2063.
They developed the AI framework for the continent. All of these are different things, but they use the word framework. They use the word white paper because none of these are binding in any particular. It doesn't force anyone to do anything. It's just like guidelines.
Yeah.
Right. And without that political will to get all these countries to agree, then you can't create any sort of harmonization around data transfer that makes sense, that is beneficial, that is taxable. That's the big one. That is taxable, that is traceable, that is transparent. And without that, and there's vested interest why you wouldn't want to do that, but without that, then the conversation about like us being suppliers of data to the rest of the continent then becomes art, we then have to act like the big tech companies, which is smash and grab.
Yeah.
Literally.
Literally.
Which is not something I think other African countries want to do to each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah.
But you never know. But watch the space. We'll see.
Sheesh.
When it's something.
And if we're regulating around sovereignty, can we tear it out from data pools to data trusts to data centers? Or should it be across all three levels?
I mean, you could, if I understand your language correctly, I mean, you could.
Yeah?
The bigger question is, why does sovereignty matter so much?
Yes.
That becomes the real question. And it's more of a philosophical question in my mind.
Yeah.
Why does sovereignty matter when it comes to data?
Yeah.
This very malleable resource that you can't physically touch. You can't physically see. Or you can see it on your phone. Right?
Yeah.
But you can't see the...
But it's the control that we struggle with.
Control, right?
Yeah. And my question is around those three tiers, which is the level that we could control better? Because I asked this because the paper also suggests data trusts and data pools as possible solutions to this problem.
Not at scale. That's the thing. So it's the scale. So this is why the amount of data we're producing now, every single day, the scale of it is astronomical. It's mind-boggling. Every time I lock my phone by pressing this little button here.
Yeah.
Every time I lock my phone, the phone registers that I've locked this phone.
Yes.
Right? Every time I do that, it generates a report.
Yes.
Right? That report at some point is sent back to Apple. At some point in this journey.
Yeah.
Every single thing, every time I speak into this microphone, we're generating data.
Yes.
And that's just in this room, gigabytes upon gigabytes. There's no way to regulate this at scale. Regardless of the tool that you utilize, unless you say there's particular data that we only want to focus on, that the scale of it doesn't matter because we're only looking at that, not looking at everything, right? So data trust could help solve that.
Okay.
In one way or another,
Okay.
possibly.
Okay.
But it depends on what sectors you're talking about, what applications are you talking about, why it matters, and then back again, why the sovereignty? Why do you need the control over it? Because what are you going to do with it at that point? It's one thing hoarding onto a resource. It's another thing knowing what to do with that resource. And I don't think that question is answered enough. Right now, we just want control. But again, I sit on the other side. I know two colleagues who might listen to this and be like, this damn fool. I thought that debate we had solved this issue. And using another platform to elevate his views.
Look, and again, from my side, I'm thinking, I'm trying to build an LLM.
Yeah.
However, the data sits with big tech, and me getting access to that, they want an arm and a leg.
Yes.
But pretty much they got the data to train their LLM free, you could argue. So when we say the country should have access to the data, and when somebody asks, but to do what? It's like, we want to build products. We want access to the data.
What do you want? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I just want it.
Yes.
Get you on that.
Yeah. We're not crying for the land to just say, it's my land. I want to farm.
Yes. I want to do whatever I want to do.
Right. God knows I want to just rent that land out. I might not know how to farm, but I can rent that.
I'm down with that.
But again, the question still stands that if we don't build data trusts or data pools or regulate properly around the data centers, then we lose a lot of this data that we could use to develop other products that government could use to improve on service delivery. But where do you even start if you don't have that, if you don't own that data? Data will give you patterns. Data will give you ideas on how to solve. But when you don't own that data, when that data is sitting on someone else's server, how do you improve the lives of your people, man?
Yeah, let's take this like step by step. So one, why do we want to go? No, let me start. Wait, let me take it step by step.
Okay.
One of the most important and beautiful things that happened, I'm not going to get the language right here,
okay,
when it comes to the internet, was whoever made this decision to make the internet open. And there's a particular technical term that's escaping me now. It's a particular protocol of the internet, which essentially means you can't carve out certain sections of the internet like a piece of land where you put a fence. You can carve up your servers and whatnot, but the internet itself, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first point, right? The internet is open. The second point is, why do we then want to buy or utilize the data that someone else has collected? So if the argument is, these companies have this data, we want to have access so that we can also do cool things. I then come back to the first point of, but the internet is open.
Yeah.
So why don't you then go do that?
Yeah.
Why can't you then go create models, agentic tools that will then create large language models to do the work that you want to do? A question could come back, it's like, no, that's proprietary information. In certain aspects.
Yeah.
But there's enough proliferation of this and that the techniques are widely understood around how you would do this.
Yeah.
It's about whether you have the technical expertise to then do this. That's just like a technical question. Or do we have enough money to like bring people from other countries? Like, come, what you are doing there, come do it here for us as well. Right? So we don't need to go buy this data. You could do it. It just takes time and an investment.
Okay.
Why I'm making all of these arguments, I go back to China. India is another good example. DeepSeek. Is it DeepSeek?
Yes.
DeepSeek. DeepSeek is a classic example of this. Where ChatGPT rocks up and say, ChatGPT is such a powerful generative AI tool. It's world leading. DeepSeek comes out of nowhere and says, we can do the same thing.
They did.
And they did it. And the question then becomes, how did they do it? Right? Did they go off and steal OpenAI's information? No, they didn't. They just built their own models and their own tools.
Yeah.
So I then come back, the internet is open. Why do you want to then go buy something if you can build it yourself?
Yeah.
At this point. And if it comes to just like, I want to create an LLM, people create LLMs all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Depending on what data is available to you. Now, will it be as good as ChatGPT, as Claude, as DeepSeek? Probably not. However, I like using this line. Technology today is the worst it's ever going to be. You'll only improve as time goes on.
Okay.
Right? It's about how quick can you scale your improvement. And in my mind, that's a better conversation. You're then owning, if you really want to, you're now owning this data yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You're farming it yourself. You're gathering it yourself. Now, there are walls, right? I can't just get data off an Android phone because I'm not Google, but I can get data off an Android phone through third-party apps.
Yep.
Right? You can't necessarily do that with Apple anymore. But you can get this information in different ways if you want to know about people's behavior. At the end of the day, you need to know, why do I want to have this data? If I know what product I want to build, then you then identify what data I need to develop this product. And then you ask the question, how do I then retrieve that data? And you'd be surprised more often than not that the data is readily available because humans suck at privacy. We really do.
Yeah.
Right? You might not get access to banking records per se, but you can get access to this information.
We consent to a lot of things.
Yeah,
exactly.
we do. And sometimes you just consent.
You just say yes.
Yeah.
But in more kind of digitally, I wouldn't say advanced, but like mature democracies, having a governmental data exchange, an open data exchange platform in which citizens can extract data from about other citizens, right? You can build upon that. GPS is built upon that, for instance. Mzansi Exchange was launched last year, September.
Yep.
By the President's Office. Mzansi Exchange is our first proper DPI data exchange mechanism, which is trying to do something very simple. Can we make the Department of Home Affairs be able to talk to the Department of Services, DPSA, Public Services Administration? Which you would think is like an obvious thing.
Yeah, but it's not. It's
right,
not.
but it's really not. Can Department of Home Affairs talk to the Department of Social Development? There is no system for these two departments to talk to each other. Right? If SASA wants to get information on people, they have to make like a manual request to DHA every time. They don't share a database. The last time I checked, maybe they've solved this thing. Right? Without that type of infrastructure that is also open to the public, anonymized data, that's one way where you can circumnavigate this type of thing. But we don't make the investment, we don't make the efforts into it. And our government is doing a lot. Love them.
Yeah.
DSU unit in the presidency's office doing the Lord's work over there, but it's just not quick enough. So we try and then take the shortcut of, but they have the data. How do we get access to it? It's a shortcut argument. It's a valid argument, but in the long term, over the next 50 years, that doesn't solve your underlying problem. At least in my mind.
Yeah. I think, nope.
Yeah.
I think I just want to touch on, of course, data ownership, right? And I think for me, what I want to get to is let's just argue that, okay, we're not in a place to preserve and own the data in Africa, right? But do you think there is a way in which we can have some governance to it to ensure that African context is still represented with the data within the big players? Is there some sort of way in which, yes, we do not own the data, but can we govern how Africa is represented, local languages, local context, however, within the data that is sitting offshore through the big players? Can we get to some sort of point? And also, do we have something in place that governs that to ensure that at the end of the day, Africa is still represented?
Yeah. So there's a quick answer of like, yes, there is a way to do it. The less quick answer is yes, with some caveats in the fact that we've kind of done it. The only fact is that it's now representing like a European conception of how data should be utilized. Right. So the yes answer is yes, you can create a policy that does that. We now have examples of that across the world. A great one is the EU's AI Act, for instance, which is very comprehensive. It's underlined by the notion of protection of privacy, and I'm forgetting to say, I want to say rights, but it's not rights. It'll come back to that, right? But the EU's AI Act is really focused on those two pillars, privacy and whatever the second one is. The yes but nuance answer that we've already copied is that a lot of African countries have a data policy in one way or another. Whether it's enforced or not is a whole other conversation. But the majority of us, whether we did it on purpose or by mistake, copied GDPR, which is, again, a UK, EU framework around digital privacy, data privacy, how you manage that, what information is utilized, what is not utilized, what is accessible, what is not accessible. Our POPI Act in South Africa is almost like a carbon copy of GDPR with like a little South African flavor to it. I know the information regulator will get upset with me if I say that, but it is what it is. Type of thing, right? So we have these policies. They exist. You can do it if you really want to. I don't know what it means to have like Africa represented in the data. Should they be like a byline from Joburg? What do you mean by the
I think not necessarily, but let's not have how can I put it? Let's not have how this bottle, okay, I'm going to use an example of this. Let's not have this bottle basically it's supposed to represent Africa's data, but it is reshaped and communicated as if it was produced in North America or any other region, rather.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, yes, you could do it. It's just not the way that... I'm going to figure out how to say this. It's just not the way that data infrastructure works,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Okay.
I was making this point earlier that, to the best of my knowledge, stand to be corrected, but your name isn't attached to the data. So for instance, once all this data that's collected gets put into what we would describe as like a data lake, right? Actually, let me take one step. I mentioned the term like a data warehouse before, which is like the traditional way it's going to store data, just for the listeners, they know what I'm talking about. If you think of like a huge filing room for Gen Zers, if you have a file on your laptop that just has many, many different folders upon folders upon folders, right? That was a data warehouse. And you would have to extract data by knowing where a file was. If that makes sense. I need to know where that file is in order to extract that information when I need it.
Almost like looking for a book in the library.
It's exactly type of that, right? And you had different protocols and techniques in which you would extract that data at scale, at speed.
Yeah.
In a data lake, it's very different. And I want to be as like, I want to use a good analogy for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is, imagine all those files and someone said, we're just going to throw it all up into the air. If that makes sense. And mix all the papers in this warehouse. So all the files are all topsy-turvy mixed together. But different aspects of the files had different colored paper. So within your file, there was a colored paper on your behaviors on Instagram that was yellow. Okay. There was a colored paper about your behaviors on your phone that's purple. There's one around your behaviors around advertisements that's in blue. Right? A data lake throws all of that together and it then asks the question of, okay, you've done X, Y, Z in the last hour, right? And we have all this data that we found from across the world.
Yeah.
Your XYZ behavior looks very, very similar to another XYZ person whose behavior mimics a blue paper, a yellow paper, a white paper.
Yeah.
And because of that, we're then going to infer that there's a pattern that everyone else who did blue, yellow, white was then followed by a black piece of paper of behavior, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're going to assume that you behave in the same way, right? If you asked the data lake, but you see that yellow piece of paper, what country did it come from? It's a bizarre question to ask that data lake because it's all mixed up at this point. That's not the point of the data at that point. If it was in a filing cabinet, it'd be like, oh, it came from this person to this country, and I can find it. So that's why it becomes harder to do that. Now, the yellow paper still exists and was still produced by you, if that makes sense, right? So how do we make sure that if there's a ton of yellow paper saying people behave in XYZ manners that are deemed through a biased lens to look a particular way, to behave a particular way. So they just all happen to be black. We all have these yellow papers. And these yellow papers seem to correspond with a blue paper, which also happens to deal with poverty, if that makes sense. We then draw inferences and say, because you're black, you must then follow this pattern.
Yeah.
That becomes the bad usage of data, right? Where people then utilize this data that is all mixed up to draw patterns and inferences without context. And without that context, you then get the bias that people then utilize and then abuse your data. So that's the one bad thing that I'm like, this is why we should know what our data is being used for, to avoid the type of algorithmic bias that comes out. The second one is, why should people then know it's coming from the African continent? Is that when you use that yellow paper, just have a sign there that says from Africa, right? So that it contextualizes what African experiences are. And you don't do a mix masala of everyone's experiences. So that not because I want recognition for it. So I'm not about like the recognition, but I can see the benefits for it. I'm not hard sold on it. But so that the product that you design based off that data lake, when you come to the African continent, is informed by our data. That's what I'm really concerned about. That the products are then informed by us because you utilize our data. And I know that it's possible because they do it for America, they do it for the EU. Right? They do it all the time. Right? but the markets are just bigger there.
Mm.
And there's an incentive to cater for those markets. And the African market just isn't big enough for them to care all that much. Which is why we should get more people connected.
Yeah.
It's why we must get more people onto the internet. It's why we need to grow our markets. It's
Yeah.
why, arguably, we need to produce more data that they can then see value in this market and then utilizing our data in a tailor-made way. So long as you are the no-name brand in the back and Kellogg's is sitting in front of you,
Always gonna reach for color.
you're going to reach for the Kellogg's
Yeah.
or Colgate. Maybe, I don't know if people buy Kellogg's, but I know people buy Colgate, Sensodyne, and Aquafresh. I know that for sure. But if there's a no-name brand, that you'll come to that last.
List.
So that would be the long-winded way of saying
Yeah.
it. Like, I think it's important.
Yeah.
We just need to be careful about how we phrase the argument for why African data needs to be utilized and respected and understood within these huge. I like using the term data lake. You can have a version of a data lake in a warehouse together.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's it called? Huge company. They
Yeah.
are about to become one of the third largest tech companies in the world, and nobody knows their name. Brick something.
Is
Are
it
they local?
Databricks?
Databricks.
Databricks.
What? I don't know.
Huge, because they figured out how. It doesn't matter.
So you're saying, are you implying that our data in Africa is not valuable enough?
Yeah,
Does this explain why
that's
most?
going to be the clipped little thing there.
Yeah.
I'll own it. No, it's not valuable enough. Not at scale.
Yeah.
Not in monetary terms. Not in the capitalist
Yeah.
society. Not in the surveillance capitalism.
Then why the extraction? I mean, one of the papers.
It's cheap.
Is it?
It's
Is it cheap to extract more than 300 terabytes of data a day?
It's cheap. There's no regulations around it. It's
Yeah.
Wild, Wild West. There's a path of least resistance. We give it up willingly. We don't have the same type of cultures around data privacy
Yes.
that exist in other parts of the world. There's less regulations around it. We have more people on cell phones.
Yeah.
Just the mobile connectivity on the continent is something that we did well. Well, I don't know if we did it. Telecom companies
Yeah.
did it,
But
right? But that mobile connectivity. So we suck at broadband. We suck at fiber, but we're really good at making sure people have a cell phone in hand that connects to a cell phone. We are constantly producing information and data at a scale that few countries on few continents can kind of compete with
Yeah.
at the cheapness at which it comes in.
Okay.
Right, so it is cheap, but not in like a bad way of like
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah.
No. I get that. I get
Don't
that.
have value. It's
Yeah.
just, it is what it is.
What I'm struggling to understand is why would somebody spend so much money in extracting the African data
if it's not,
if it doesn't influence enough of their products to give them a return on investment?
Because it helps inform behavior of individuals. And this is not behavior, it helps them better understand the patterns of behaviors.
Which can influence how they build products.
How they build products, not necessarily for the African continent, but for other
For other
continents.
markets,
Okay.
yes.
other markets.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Humans,
Okay.
Africans are not like inherently, fundamentally different from the rest of the world.
True.
Of course.
Right,
Of course.
True.
Of course.
Less goods that we can purchase
Right.
from.
Yeah.
Our purchasing behavior is generally
It's
the
like-
same, if that makes sense, right? So that's why you have to be careful. Like
Okay.
we're a special continent. I love our continent, but
Yeah.
we're not unique. Like we're a different species.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our behavior is the same as
It's
people
the same.
who behave in South America.
Mm.
We need to eat in the morning. We wake up and we eat in the morning. We need to go to work. We wake up, we need to choose cars. The choice of a car might differ, but we still need to buy a car.
True.
If that makes sense.
And the behaviors will be similar across many other
Generally
markets.
The same. So
Yeah.
think about like a car. You could have a car that is sold in the UK and a car that's sold in South Africa.
Yeah.
The major difference between them is that one is right-hand seat drive and the other one is left-hand drive.
Yeah.
Right? But the car is the car.
It's like a
It's a
Same
car.
function.
engine, four
That's the
wheels.
It is not like in South Africa, they only like an engine.
Yeah.
That works at 1.5
Like,
liters.
yeah, that makes sense.
We do
That
appreciate
makes
V12s.
Yes.
So because of, and it's a whole other conversation on like globalization has made difference less apart. Our differences are not as stark as they were before. We've kind of moved towards the center.
Yeah.
So if you can get this cheap data around how people behave, how they use particular products, then it's useful.
Yeah.
We also shouldn't overplay our hand. and believe that Anthropic is just looking at our data, being like, we just mine so much.
Yeah.
The hierarchy of their mining, they are mining more from the United States
Right.
than they are mining from us.
Right.
It's just about how do we make sure that our voices are heard in that process.
Yeah.
So you hear me go back and forth on this kind of argument where I'm pro and against the arguments of like how we utilize our data. I understand the benefits of it. I'm not like dogmatic.
Yeah.
But it's also being realistic about like what is our position
Yes.
in the global economy within supply chains. Do we buy as many iPhones for Apple to consider us as a market where just this week, Apple's new launch, they said, here's our new AI tools, here are all the languages. Danish,
Yes.
Japanese, English. There's not a single language from our continent
No.
appeared on that list. Because why?
We're not that important.
But it doesn't mean we can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to advertise UJ for a moment.
That's interesting.
UJs and Van, right? You don't have to be like a computer science expert. They are kind of partnering up with OpenAI, but that's a whole other conversation. UJ, they are a sociology department. The furthest you can get from computer science develops an LLM, right? Utilizing student data, utilizing the course materials they've developed, right? To essentially say, can we create a large language model that assists students in the supervision and master's thesis process, in which a lot of your master's supervision is that I'm going to sit down with my supervisor and then ask them questions like, what's a problem statement? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with that? Whereas you can have a chatbot that speaks back to you that tells you this is what problem statement is based off the research we've done as a university. Our department, our lecturers, our course material. That none of the answers are going to come outside of this. And we developed that model and they say, cool. And I said, oh yeah, that's a cool model. And you know when you're kind of impressed but you're not fully like, this is
it's alright.
It's
nice.
And then it started speaking in Zulu. I said, what is happening here?
Okay.
And I said, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Because academia's biggest impediment is that we teach in English. When I talk about a problem statement and interpretivist paradigms and constructivist paradigms to someone who English is their third language at this point, there's a lot of hoops you need to. Now imagine you had a tool where a student didn't need to think about that. They could have the same conversation they would have with their supervisor based on the materials the supervisor is supposed to be talking about themselves in a language that meets their needs.
Yeah.
The model also extended to say, I've been studying a lot. I'm really stressed out about life in general. And the model said, we're also connected to the wellness center and the protocols they have around depression. And it says, you know what? I understand what you're going through. Let's talk this out. Here's a contact detail. A whole tool that is designed by the sociology.
That's amazing.
Type of thing. Like amazing. So we can create these tools.
We can.
We can create it if we really need to. We don't need to be like shaking our fists at the West when we must.
As
much as possible. But sometimes your fist will get tired.
It will. It's an interesting argument, this, because for the longest time I've been wondering why do these LLMs still hallucinate so much? If
get beyond my expertise, let me try.
Why do they hallucinate so much if they extracting so much of the data? But to your point, they're not extracting this data to refine our experiences of the LLM themselves, because we're not necessarily the market that that's been targeted here. They use the data to try and look at the patterns in other markets, which is why you would. Even last year, many LLMs, if you would ask to create something African, it wouldn't get it exactly right. If you ask for something, you know what I mean? But they take so much data, which begs the question, for what? For other markets, not necessarily for us. So this is why this conversation around data extraction, creating products versus the experience that we have in Africa on this LLM is, because the hallucination is insane. And the LLMs to this day, they're not localized. If you go, what happened in Mpumalanga, pick a rural village and it wouldn't pick that much data from there, even though there are many people in those areas who have access to the same data that it should necessarily pull from. It would not relay that information for you. Even when people in those areas are pushing that information out, it's not putting it back in to refine the experience of the LLM.
Yeah, you're not going to like my answer to this.
Let's hear it.
So I'm not going to talk about, I'm not an expertise on the data infrastructure of
Yes.
LLMs.
Yeah.
About the governance, generally speaking. So we have been, what's the word? Propaganda
Yeah.
by OpenAI. In the sense that OpenAI's mission statement, you must fact check, but it's to save the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Something
it's
like
very,
that.
like simple, like we want to go save the world. And we have now internalized this idea that the work that these large, and I don't want to call them LLMs, but these large AI organizations, such as Anthropic, such as OpenAI, etc., are somehow responsible for the quality of data that reflects our lived experience.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know when we got that, and I'll call it what it is, like a level of, it's going to be another clickbait thing. I'm not gonna say this.
Say it.
Like, it's a level of like entitlement.
Yeah.
To be like, but you must generate something for us.
Yes.
Why should they? In their hierarchy of concerns,
Yeah.
we are so low down, it's actually laughable. We are charity to them in the grander scheme of things. The way they, let me not get into that. Right. So why did we get to the point where you must be able to tell us more about Mpumalanga? Their priorities are, I want to tell you more about Minnesota.
Yeah.
Because that's where my clients are.
Yeah.
Right. That's where my tools are bought at scale. That's where the subscriptions come from. It's you can blame capitalism on many things. We get all our subscribers who actually pay us
over
monthly at scale are not here.
Yeah.
But you're asking things from us, but you don't pay us at scale. If that makes sense. So there's an incentive problem that we shouldn't look at these big companies like they are angelic. Right? They are not angelic.
They still care about their bottom line.
They just care about their bottom line, profit making. They can give us whatever taglines they want to give us. Right? So as long as we remember that, they have no incentive to do it for us. Right? This is why I use the UJ example. Pointing there because UJ is there for those who watch it. The UJ example is they just did it themselves.
Yeah.
To make a contextualized LLM for their students that has a direct benefit to their students. And I come back, there is no reason why South Africa doesn't have its own Google. Like there's no reason why we don't have our own search engine.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's just that Google has captured the market at this point.
Yeah.
But we now know it is not impossible to create your own search engine.
No.
As I was saying earlier, France has their own one. Is it popular? Probably not.
No.
China has its own search engine. China has its own YouTube.
Yeah.
It was political will. It was investment and skills. It was a firm plan about what we are going to do. When you don't have a firm plan, someone else gives you a plan. And that is a big conversation probably for another day. And I think one of the papers actually touches about this, around how big tech then guides regulation.
Yeah.
Big tech will come out and say, we want pro-innovation on the continent. There's no big tech company that will not say pro-innovation. There's very few big tech companies that will say no to regulation.
Yeah.
They will say and will come into Africa and say, you guys need regulations.
Yeah.
Let us drop the regulations. Let's do that on your behalf. So the incentive structure is out of sync.
Yeah.
The regulations that are coming into place on the continent at scale are heavily enforced by people who have incentives to have the regulations work in their favor.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'll always come back to, we can do it on our own.
Yeah.
But we need investment from the state to do it. And that investment is not giving some rich kids who have a rich father some money to go care about. It's investment into skills.
Yeah.
It's investment into education. It's investment into ICT technologies that are accessible to young people. and it's investment into the risk that they might just leave the country.
Hundreds.
Right? Because they might
Hundreds.
get all these skills in Silicon Valley
Yeah.
and be like, you guys,
Come here.
over.
come over here.
Yeah, you're wasting time down there.
Yeah.
That just needs to plan.
Right. So speaking on regulation, the second paper is around vision and voids, a descriptive examination of digital policy contradictions and digital inclusion gap in the global south. Why so many contradictions? I mean, to just go through a few, expand internet access, but some countries' regulatory framework wouldn't allow for that. A typical example is Starlink. It's accepted in some countries, not in other. Digital inclusion for all. Then you get tax on devices and data disproportionately burdened on low-income users. There's policy for pool resources for rural access. Then you have unspent funds around all different kinds of funds.
I like this paper as well.
Why do we see so many contradictions? I guess the easy answer would be political will. But when politically or when governments can also make a bit of money by taxing certain products that are not, who benefits here? Because it looks like private is benefiting. To a large extent, government is benefiting through the tech, but the citizens are just
tucked in.
I look this way, government, you ought to get me. I look this way, big tech, you ought to get me. Who's for me?
Yeah, so there's multiple ways you could answer this.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like this paper and I really implore everyone to go read our working paper series.
Yes.
Cool.
So you don't just hear my voice, you hear the actual experts on these topics. I did a paper, not part of this working paper series, but part of a book that we hope coming out of Tyisha early next year, we can get it done. Where I just decided, let me map out all the digital related policies on the continent.
Okay.
Just I'm going to sit down and just go through each and every one of them. Like, do you have an AI policy? Do you have a data policy? And you find out that majority of countries on the continent don't have policies. Just in general. The big actors, Ghana, Rwanda, Kenya, South Africa, Botswana, Nigeria, Senegal has a few things. DRC surprisingly has like an interesting data policy.
Oh, okay.
But these things kind of exist on paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Those who do have it, it exists on paper. Right? It's another thing to then enforce these policies.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you then have all these other regional protocols that kick in. SADC has its own protocols around data privacy and understanding data. ECOWAS has its own protocols as well, right? I hope you're following me at this point, right? So you have everyone having their own little sets of policies, everyone having their own sets of protocols, different regions having their own protocols to serve the region's interests. But those regional interests don't necessarily align with the country's interests.
Yes.
So there's a disjuncture between, so the contradictions start. Then you have the AU that knows that we want to create policy for everyone, but there's no ability for us to then create a binding agreement that everyone will ratify onto. So we'll just do our own thing.
And just advice, and whoever takes that advice takes.
If you take it, you take it. If you don't take it, you don't take it.
Yeah.
So there's no incentive structure for harmonization of everything. Right, so that's how you can create a sprawling space that we call the African continent that can have all these different interpretations. So that's the first thing. The second one is we're just big. We're a very big continent.
Yeah.
It is hard to explain to people just how huge the continent is. That's to create some sort of coordination amongst all of us across such a huge piece of land is insane.
Yeah.
Right? Europe can do it because Europe is actually quite tiny.
Yeah.
Like Europe is really, really small.
It is small.
Just as a geographical space, there's many different countries in it, but as a geographical space, it's really small, which means the amount of different cultures and tendencies and belief systems are quite concentrated.
Yeah.
There's a lot of homogenization amongst them. The United States is kind of big, but even they said, listen, there's 50 states. Each of them have your own policies, but you just can't go against federal policy, if that makes sense. That's how they rationalize it. Then you still have, we haven't talked about Russia. They're a bit of a black box, but the way they think about data is also very different from the rest of the world. Then you have China. You could put Russia, China, United States, as well as Europe onto the African continent and still have space at this point, right? So it's just physically hard to coordinate at that scale. The second aspect is, because we're so large, there's so many different cultures and belief systems. Europe can do it because Europe's experience of World War II, and in particular two countries, the United States, Germany and France, was heavily influenced by the way that the Germans utilized citizens' data to find Jewish people in particular. And that heavily influenced these two actors, who then influenced everyone else to say, data privacy is number one. We can have fights on many other things, but as a cultural bloc called Europe, everything we do will put data privacy first. So we might have debates, but if your debate is veering away from data privacy, it's a non-stop. We don't have that on the continent. There's no centralized, galvanizing cultural principle around digital technologies or digital transformation that we can say as a continent, we all agree on this. Our position on data privacy is different across the continent. In South Africa, we try and protect data privacy as much as possible. In other countries, Uganda does not protect data privacy at all. They have no regard for it at all. Kenya attempts to protect data privacy as much as possible. Nigeria attempts to do it unless you're doing things that they deem as immoral acts. If you're doing something immoral, then your data privacy is neither here nor there. We want to bring you to the surface so we can tell you it's jail. That lack of a, like this guy, and there's a really good author called David Eves, who's based in UCL as well as Harvard. Really love his work, get to read it, who talks about these different cultures of digital transformation across the world and how the United States has its own culture related to markets, EU has its own culture related to data privacy, India in particular has its own culture now towards development, which is interesting. We need to watch them. China has its own culture related to party supremacy. A new player on the block is New Zealand, who are utilizing indigenous ways of thinking about data and the usage, and that's purely because of got a huge Maori population. How do we include them into data discussion? And I think Africa could learn a lot from New Zealand about that. But Africa itself doesn't have that. So it is hard to coordinate everyone's different policies if all of our different cultures are pointing us in different directions, which then create these contradictions because our incentives are not all aligned on what we want to do. Some countries will say we believe in data sovereignty. Other countries will say we do not have money to be having this conversation. This chat.
It's not agent enough for us.
Bring whatever you need to bring. Take as much data as you need to take. Whatever you need. We are not in the financial position to have this debate with the people about but you can't store our data somewhere else.
Sheesh. So
it's just
clearly Africa is caught in the middle of some crossfire here.
Crossfire, but also opportunities. We have share as well. We have raw talent as well. We have a horizon that is less path dependent as the other countries are. It's just about, do we do enough, what we're calling like complexity economics? Do we do enough forms of coordination that creates self-organizing patterns of emergence, which essentially means you do enough at a very small scale. It's like the butterfly effect. You do enough at a very small scale, but if you do that right, the ripple effect of it is bigger than your initial interaction.
That ripple
effect is informed by what you initiate.
There you go.
If that makes sense. And that type of organization is a conversation for another day.
And how the hell do we get this right if the country's not moving in unison? I mean, the continent is not moving in unison.
That's a great question, actually.
Case of capacity, countries moving in silos.
Open source everything and humble yourself. Irembo.
But definitely somebody's benefiting from this.
Obviously.
Someone will want to benefit in one way or another. Let's take Irembo as an example. Have you guys heard of Irembo before?
Who?
Irembo.
No.
Irembo is Rwanda's data exchange platform.
Oh.
Essentially, if you're a Rwandan citizen, I want to get an ID. I go onto the website, Irembo, my ID opportunities there.
Yeah.
If I want to get my driver's license, it's the same website. If I want to get my medical, it's the same website.
Same.
Yeah.
If I want to register my property, same website. It's all on one system that connects to all these departments. All these departments don't have their different websites. I hate South Africa's government departments.
Absolutely, I do too. Yeah.
It's the worst. They're all bad and they're all equally suck. But none of them speak to each other. There's no template. There's nothing. Remember, it's one-stop shop. Everything you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what if Rwanda said, we've designed this system. We want to make it open source. And we're going to give it up to any African country that wants it. You just take it. You do whatever you need to do.
Edit here and there.
Then you have countries that say, sovereignty. No, we must build it ourselves. So if we copy your system, then you'll know how our system works.
Yeah.
It's based off yours. So we're actually quite valuable to you, which is a valid argument, right? So we'll just build it ourselves. Fast forward 10 years, we still haven't built it. You remember it still exists. 5 years ago, I was in like a fascinating conference where there were colleagues from Botswana who essentially said, we've been shouting at Treasury to essentially say, we have an open source platform for local government public finance. We're trying to get a meeting to give it to you guys. Like, we want to give it to you. And our country said, no, we don't want to take it. So things such as that. Open source is probably, and again, there'll be people who debate back against me, but open source is probably one of the quickest ways to create that type of coordination where people then don't have to invest into developing this infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because the template for how that infrastructure is already available. It's just about retrofitting it for your context at that point. And we don't have that culture on the continent. I wish we did.
Yeah.
Because it's the quickest way to create collaboration, to create coordination, to help build that scale, and to allow people to catch up to other African countries. I hate the notion we must catch up with America. I just need, I'm going to pick a random country, Equatorial Guinea to catch up with South Africa.
Yeah.
That's all I need. And if all of us do that exercise, then we all get to a base level. So the question then becomes, if South Africa creates this data exchange protocol that works, do we open source it to the rest of the continent? That's the question the president's office is going to have to answer. Do we give it to any country that needs to create a platform that allows their different government departments to speak to each other? That allows citizens to have easy access to information.
Absolutely.
And I'm willing to put money that our government won't open source it.
No, they won't.
No, they won't.
No, they won't.
And I actually want to jump on the fact that I think it was on the radio, I think last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
There was an entire conversation about how SAPS still uses physical dockets.
Oh, yeah.
And I think my question really goes in terms when we're addressing the divide. I think we obviously can see it within the government operations. Now we get to a position where we say, okay, now we want to solve this divide that is happening. Do we start with the communities where we come from, the ordinary people, or do we start within the government operations and the systems?
Yeah. I know I mentioned this on the last podcast as well.
Yeah.
The concept that we'll talk about is like equality of outcome versus equality of process.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of make a choice between the two. As a quick TLDR, equality of outcome is, equality of process is everyone must go through the exact same process.
Yeah.
If I need to go get my ID, we must all stand in that line.
Sure.
If that makes sense. Equality of outcome is you can go through different processes so long as the outcome is still the same. So some of you will stand in that Home Affairs line for hours. Some of you, because you bank with Netbank, will go to the Netbank Santon office.
Yes.
I found that out when I was trying to get a marriage certificate, and Netbank said, you don't bank with us.
Yeah, what do you want?
Just go to Weinberg. It's fine. Let me go to Weinberg then. Because that's my life now. Weinberg is very different. Nice soft chairs.
Yeah. Smells good too.
So that coming back to the original question is you'd have to resolve that question. Which one is society more comfortable with? There's pros and cons for both.
Yeah.
Between kind of communities, or do you start with government processes? In my mind, you start with communities. you get longer term impacts.
Yeah.
If you start just with government, you get kind of short term impacts.
Yeah.
So if you said, I'll use, you called SAPs, I'm going to use judges. Because everyone likes protecting the judiciary, and I like exposing the judiciary for why does the judiciary still use leave archviles?
Yeah.
In this day and age to hold and review cases. It is a wild concept that a local magistrate can still, and not all of them, some of them are a bit modernized, but the Crown Court is going through a process of modernization of the judicial system.
Yeah.
But a lot of them still work off of that, right? Now, the question then becomes, in municipalities where the judiciary has modernized, where they don't have to utilize physical physical files of cases, right? But a rural community does. Is there justice in that in any particular way? Why is that fair? Because SAPs I can understand, because it really depends on like what area you live in, the population density of it.
Yeah.
Is it like there's a lot more to SAPs around how you distribute resources. With the judicial services, regardless of where I go in the country, my experience of the judiciary should be exactly the same. They shouldn't be because I live in an urban area that I have a better experience of the judiciary, the ultimate arbiter of justice in the country. And I use that as an example to say, if the judiciary, this ultimate arbiter of justice in the country, can't figure out how to mitigate the digital divide, then no one else would be able to do it. In the sense of there is then no moral justification to end the digital divide. It becomes a technical exercise.
Yeah.
Those who have, those who don't. It's not a moral exercise.
Yeah.
So I would start with communities because I think communities is where you build trust. I think you build long-term impact. I think you build the next generation of people who utilize that technology, and then becomes the barriers of entry into utilizing digital government becomes lower in the future, and the friction that you have of having to teach people how to do things decreases exponentially. The sooner a young person is engaged in digital activities, the longer they'll stay on it, the easier they'll uptake new technologies. Vis-a-vis trying to retrain them when they turn 30.
Yeah. Now, if we should be ending, we're running out of tape.
Yeah.
If we were to follow this logic, shouldn't Starlink then make all the sense because it bypasses all telcos, and anybody and everybody in the country can get access to it?
I'm on a WhatsApp group that hates Starlink.
Oh, why do they hate it?
It's a very entertaining WhatsApp group. It has like some interesting people in the country. Because Starlink, you know, this notion of like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
Starlink is a wolf in sheep's clothing that doesn't bother to wear its sheep's clothing.
Hey.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
It's just, it comes there as the wolf, but we, in our minds, process it as a sheep.
Masquerades as a sheep.
But the wolf is looking at you being like, no,
I'm a wolf.
I'm a wolf.
I'm a wolf. I am what you are the one calling me. I don't know why you're calling me a sheep.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a sheep. I'm here to
As a
extract
wolf.
as much money as I can. I just happen to be providing a service that
you need.
Beneficial that you need. Right, and that is the tension with someone such as Starlink. So the technology is hella impressive.
Yeah.
When you kind of think about what they're doing at scale across the world, the changes it could make in connectivity is impressive.
Yes.
Right,
That's literally the definition of bridging the digital divide.
It's bridging the digital divide. And I don't mind. I know when we talked a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, maybe.
Yeah, this is why I asked.
I now, because then afterwards I found this wolf metaphor. I said, this is what I felt.
Okay.
Because I still looked at them thinking they're sheep. And I'm like, no, they're just who they are.
Right.
The question then becomes, what do you do with this wolf when you put it in the chicken coop? Because that's what you're doing at this point. Right? You must not
eat them
deal
chickens.
with the consequences of it. Now, do we have the resilience to deal with those consequences?
That's
That becomes like an interesting question for me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, they come, there's consequences for it. Can we now manage these consequences and reap the benefits of it? And that just becomes like a risk-benefit analysis in my mind. And I think the risk-benefit analysis from a political sense is interfering with like the digital divide argument. I think it's interfering with the economic argument. And I think it's interfering to an extent with the moral argument.
Yes.
The political argument is B. Right? So Starlink doesn't have B status. It's a non-starter. Like if you don't want to adhere to the laws of the country,
then why do you want to do business here?
It's a non-starter conversation. Right. So that's the first one. The politics of the politics of of Elon Musk association with Trump, political hurdle that makes the risks just seem like odd. The economic argument is a lot cheaper. But you're going to be putting your large telco companies in the country on notice. Huge telco companies that do a lot of work for the country, do a lot of donations to the country, who do a lot of connecting the last mile. If that makes sense. Right? And then the moral argument is, do you trust that type of infrastructure that we've never seen before? Right? That someone can just extract and give data without any physical infrastructure at all. Like that's an interesting argument. Of once they're in at that point. Right? If it is about monitoring our movements, that is definitely possible for them to do if they really so wish to do it. Right? That's like a moral question you need to ask of like, is that the type? There is no mechanism to mediate them, if that makes sense. So I've warmed up to it to be like, if it fixes things, cool. But I come back to there are just other options you utilize, which is incentivize or bully, one of the two, the telcos to do what Starlink is
telling you
to do.
Right?
That you don't need
break all 5 of them, make them a Starlink.
Just listen, you guys, this little oligopoly of yourself, this anti-competitive
stops now.
Must stop now.
Right.
At this point. Otherwise,
common problem, common cause. Let's go.
Common goal.
What you do to ESCOM that you can't be both the network provider, the cell phone provider, as well as the data provider. If that makes sense, right? There's 2 more that I'm missing out. So we're going to break you guys up just a little bit, create a little bit of that's political world.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a job now because they're looking at me.
They're gonna be like, hey, this guy.
Right. But at some point we must have this conversation. Like, why are you guys not doing the last one? Their argument is it's too expensive. It honestly is
definitely somebody in parliament incentive us not even to dismantle all the. So the question again on political will still stands.
More coalition governments. Two sides of politics today. Incentivize new politics.
But from a government perspective, I think it was the papers that made paper 1, which we discussed with Geshi. One of the papers argued that this literature and this research in this space is fairly young. It only sprung the thing around COVID times. How long will it take for academia to get a fair sense and enough data around this topic such that governments then can go, okay, this is enough information and data from academia that we can start leaning on. I mean, if academia is still trying to figure it out and we're coming up with so many contradictions, government is sitting there going, I'm not touching this complicated stuff.
Government doesn't really lean on academia all that much. No, academia inherently we're always going to be confused. By nature, we don't like certainty.
Okay.
Because then we don't have a job.
But at least you're honest about it.
No, but it's part of like academic practice. In a kind of old school way that you never. I'm going to go on a tangent for a second. You don't try and prove a hypothesis to be true. You try and show if it's falsifiable or not. If that makes sense. Right? Because all knowledge is true until new knowledge is given
It's
to
given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that shows that what you knew before is actually
It's not
nonsense
true.
at
Mm.
this point. And that's what academia is about. We're very comfortable in uncertainty and debating
Yeah.
with each other.
Yeah.
because Our point is not to create. Sciences are a bit different, but even sciences is about we want to create the most objective truth.
Mm.
But if new information approaches that challenges that objective truth, we're not dogmatic with it anymore.
Right.
We then engage, right? So it's hard to then translate that type of thinking
Yeah.
to the state because the state needs certainty.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
lives depend on it. Does the state wait on academia because we are still debating? We will forever be debating. We help inform the debates for them so they don't have to engage in this type of debate. They must make a choice
Yeah.
based on the information they have available to them, based on their political ideologies, based on what they need to do and what they see.
Mm.
It's the lack of choice that frustrates me. Right? So make a choice, commit to the choice, run with the choice.
Mm.
Right? Implement whatever you said you're going to implement and then see what happens.
Mhm.
The lack of decision making of we won't even make a choice. We're not even going to debate this. We're just going to sit on this and then wait for someone to tell us something
Yeah.
to do.
Shish.
I would rather have a state that acts and makes a mistake
Yeah.
than a state that doesn't act and never makes a mistake. Otherwise, you can then sleepwalk as a government and as a country for the next 50 years because you're always playing it safe rather than taking the risk. It's easy for me to say that because
Yeah.
I'm not a politician and I don't have citizens in my hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think governments that take those types of risks, especially when it comes to emerging tech, there's no paper. So we are hoping, we're promoting this working paper series.
Okay.
We're hoping the more discussions that we have around these topics in our working paper series
Yeah.
can help those who are decision makers have
Yeah.
better understanding about what decisions I need to make and when I need to make it. To inform people as much as possible, these are the debates that are taking place. These are the things you need to be aware of. Not so that you must then engage in the debate with us in
Yes.
perpetuity, so that you are then informed about the decisions that you
Yeah.
ultimately
Can take.
make. I think that's the most important thing. So once again, please go read our working paper series.
Cool.
Yeah.
Come to the launch if you can as well.
All right. Any parting shots, Chantel?
Come to the launch.
I'm not sure if this episode will come out before the launch, but if not, watch the launch.
Yeah.
Come out platforms.
Yeah, I think digital divide will forever remain a topic.
Yeah.
And I think adding on to what she's saying, I think our officials or whoever out there who can actually start the work on ensuring that we're actually eliminating the divide. They can piggyback right off the papers that you guys are writing, the research that you guys are writing. I mean, it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's not saying, go do this right now, but hey, we have identified 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
How can we then look at all the factors that we have identified and solve the issue that we have? And we don't have to start at every option that you've given and all of the identified issues, but okay, let's pick one for the year. Let's work on this and see how can we then build upon the next phase and just solve this issue.
No, I get you. No, it's 100% what we want.
Yeah.
I would say don't make us exceptional when we're not exceptional. We're very special
Yeah.
as a continent,
Yeah.
but we're not so exceptional that there's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Other people have solved these problems, we can solve it
We
ourselves.
absolutely can.
All right. Thank you so much for making the time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Chikane. Thank you so much, Chantel.
Thank you for having
That has
me.
been the Angle podcast. So in episode 1, the conversation was around who builds the technology. Episode 2 touched on whose values are built in the technologies that we use every day. Episode 3 today was around digital inclusion, who's included, who's excluded, and how policy shapes the technologies that we use. That has been the Angle podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do like, subscribe, and share on all social media platforms. Until next time. Thank you.